So tonight we begin reflecting on chapter 7, which the author has entitled Bab min al-shirk, لبس الحلقة والخيط ونحوهما لرفع البلاء أو دفعه. So the author, he says, what means wearing a ring or a band or a piece of twine or anything of that sort for the prevention of harm or relief from it or relief from some affliction is an act of shirk. So he says wearing a ring, a twine, a band, or anything of that sort for the prevention of some harm or relief from some affliction is an act of shirk. So this is the first chapter where the Imam begins explaining At-tawhid and the meaning of La ilaha illallah. If you remember in the last chapter right at the end, he said, وَشَرْحُ هَذِهِ الْكَلِمَةِ وَشَرْحُ التَّوْحِيد مَا يَأْتِي مِنْ الْأَبْوَابِ أو ما يأتي من الأبواب كما قال. He said that the explanation of At-tawhid and this kalima, La ilaha illallah, expanding on what the meaning of that is, will come in what? In the coming chapters. So this is the first of those chapters where he's going to give us what? Actual explanation. If you guys remember, we talked about how La ilaha illallah and the foundation of Tawheed is a nafi wal ithbat. Things that we negate and things that we affirm for Allah. Right? Negate from other than Allah and we affirm them to Allah. What are those things? Remember? And he's going to start telling us what those things are and explaining to us what is the reality of At-tawhid. Now, if you notice in this chapter, he says min al-shirk, right? It's a form of shirk, and he explains this form of shirk. What is he talking about? So a person says, okay, I thought that baqiyat al-abwab, the remaining chapters, were going to be an explanation of At-tawhid, not a shirk. But one of the best ways to know what At-tawhid is to know it's what? Its opposite and the thing that will nullify it and undermine it, which is a shirk. Like the poet said, we always mention this line of poetry, عرفت الشر لا للشر ولكن لتواقيه ومن لم يعرف الشر من الخير وقع فيه. I learned about evil not for evil's sake, but rather to avoid falling into it. And he who does not know evil from good will fall into evil. And so one of the best ways to understand At-tawhid is to know its opposite. It's just like you don't appreciate the light until you see darkness. Y'all see that? So that being said, he starts with this chapter. And this chapter, لبس الحلقة والخيط ونحوهما لرفع البلاء أو دفعه من الشرك. That basically when a person wears a band or a ring or some string or twine or something like that, and they do it with the intention that this will, or the belief that this will protect them from some harm, prevent the occurrence of some harm, or if they've been harmed, it will do what? It will cure them. It will relieve them of that harm. He says it's a form of shirk. This chapter and some of the other chapters that are going to come, they all are an application of a very important qa'idah that's related to what? A shirk and a tawheed. And that is what we call qa'idat al-asbab, the principle of causation or causality. That basically, we have to understand that violating this principle of causation or causality is what lands a lot of people into a shirk, right? And sometimes that shirk is akbar. It's the major shirk. It's the one that takes you outside the fold of Islam. And that's when you believe that there is a cause that is independent of Allah. A cause that is independent of Allah, something that can create an effect or affect an object without what? Without Allah having any role. Independent of Allah. And then sometimes a person commits a shirk al-asghar by believing that there is a cause that affects an object billah, but he has no what? No basis for that whatsoever. You guys see that? Play. And we're gonna expand and explain that. So this qa'idah is very, very important because the one who understands it and they master the application of this, they will prevent themselves from falling into a shirk. They will prevent themselves from falling into a lot of the shirkiyat, a lot of the acts of idolatry that many people fall into from the Muslim Ummah, unfortunately. Right? So what is this qaida? The qaida basically says, ظَنُّ الشَّيْء سَبَبًا. ظَنُّ الشَّيْء سَبَبًا وَلَمْ تَثْبُتْ سَبَبِيَّتُهُ لا بالشرع ولا بالتجربة الظاهرة المباشرة شرك. Basically, when you believe that there is a cause and effect relationship between two things, and that cause and effect relationship has not been confirmed, not by our religion and not by clinical trials, trial and error, then that's shirk. So for example, you have, to expand on that a little bit more, you have two types of causes. You have causes which are what we call haqiqi. They are confirmed. They are true. They are established. And the opposite of those, the other category, is asbab wahmiya. You have causes which are not established. Causes which are not confirmed. Causes which are more something that the connection between the cause and the effect is what? It's mythical. It's not established. It's something that people believe, and it's more related to superstitions and mythology than it is to what? Fact, hardcore fact, and empirical data. Play. So you have certain things that the Sharia says, this is a cause for this effect. This can create this effect on this object. For example, we have been taught in our religion that al-asal, honey, is something that what? It's a cure, it's a treatment. In one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, a man came and he said, my brother is complaining of stomach pain, right? He has stomach problems. The Prophet said, give him honey. So he gave him honey and he came back and he said, yashtaki min batni. He's still having these stomach pains. The Prophet said what? Give him honey. Give him honey. So he came back the third time and he said, yashtaki min batni. He said, the Prophet said, Sadaq Allah wa kadhaba batnu akhik. He said, Allah has spoken the truth and the stomach of your brother is what? Is lying. Basically meaning asal is a cure for what? For stomach pains. Okay? It's a cure for stomach illnesses. Okay? Al-Muhim, the Prophet is affirming and insisting that the cause and effect relationship between al-asal and stomach pains is that what? It can cure that. We also have the Prophet telling that al-hijama, like what do they call that? Cupping. Cupping is what? It's a cure. It's a treatment. And the Prophet got cupped and he cupped other people from his companions. We also have the Prophet telling us that black seed is a cure for what? For every illness except death. You guys see that? So now you see in all these cases, the Sharia is establishing a cause and effect relationship between two things. You see that? That's an example of what? Sabab tathbut sababiyatuhu bi-shara. You have a cause which its ability to affect another object is established by what? By the deen. On the other side, you have sometimes a cause and effect relationship is established by what? A tajriba. By what? Trial and error, right? Trial and error. So for example, it's been established through trial and error that Tylenol, acetaminophen, can what? Can mitigate the symptoms of what? Of a headache. Is that not so? People, fever. Mitigate the symptoms of what? Fever. It's been tried and true. So there's no harm if a Muslim takes what? Tylenol, believing that what? It can do what? It can calm the headache. Or it can what? Relieve the fever. Y'all see that? Tajriba. And then sometimes, so that being said, but in order for us to accept the tajriba, in order for us to accept that, there has to be two things that have to be present. One of them, and there has to be a connection between the cause and the object affected by the cause. Y'all see that? So for example, I want to open this door. Okay? I want to open this door. I go to the door, I do what? I push it. There's a connection between the cause and the object affected, the door, and the ultimate result is what? The door opens. Y'all see that? Okay? But there's a problem if what? If I say, open sesame, and I make that phrase, open sesame, I make it what? The cause for the effect on the object, the door of what? Of opening it. Y'all see that? What have I just done? I've made this phrase, open sesame, a cause which has no what? No basis. That's an example of a sabab wahmi. Similar to that is what some people do when they wear what? They wear a talisman. And they say this talisman will protect me from what? From al-jinn. It'll protect me from harm. Person carries a lucky charm, like a rabbit's foot, and says this, as long as I have it with me, I'll have good luck. I go for a job interview. I'm going to get the interview. I'm going to win the interview. I'm going to get the job. Why? Because I have my lucky charm. What has he just done? He's established a cause and effect relationship that's supposed to bring about a certain result. And there's no what? There's no proof for that. From the Sharia, there's no what? There's no tajribah. You guys see that? And even if you say there is tajribah, where's the what? Where's the ittisal? Where's the connection? Y'all see that? If a person can understand this, it's almost like a light that helps them what? Expose what? Exposes shirk. Y'all see that? And this is one example of many that he's going to give in the book of people who, of actions that Muslims do, unfortunately, that amount to what? Shirk. Because they haven't what? Understood that you have to have a cause and effect relationship that's established either by what? A shara or what? A tajribah. And even if you say tajribah, there has to be what? There has to be an ittisal. There has to be a connection. Y'all see that? There has to be a connection. And when you don't have the connection, that's where what? That's where the shirk comes in. You see that? And this is a type of shirk with Allah in terms of what? Ar-rububiyyah. His lordship. Why? Because his lordship is related to what? His actions. And who is the one who does the act of creating a cause and effect relationship between two things? Only Allah. Y'all see that? So when we say there's a cause and effect relationship between two things, we're doing what? We're usurping the lordship of Allah. You see that? And we're making what? We're equating someone or something with Allah in what? In a sababiyah. Basically in creating this cause and effect relationship between two things. Y'all see that? And so I just want to give this muqaddimah. I wanted to give that introduction. So when we get into the chapter and we start reading some of the text he uses to support this assertion that wearing a band or wearing some twine or wearing a ring and wearing it with the belief that it can protect you or prevent some harm is shirk. He's going to give the proofs for that. We'll understand where he's coming from. You guys see that? But not only this, we'll understand also some of the other abwab where he talks about what? Where he talks about at-tama'im. He talks about what? Amulets and talismans. Where he talks about omens. Right? The belief in omens, right? People will see a black cat and say, oh, it's going to be a bad day. That's bad luck. Y'all see that? Omens. He's going to talk about these things. All these things go back to what? This qaida, this principle. The principle of what? Al-asbab. And this causation or creating a cause and effect relationship between two things. Y'all see that? And so that's just the muqaddimah we'll do. And tomorrow we'll get into what? We'll get into the text and we'll make that connection between the text and what? And this qaida. This principle that he's teaching us. And once we master it and internalize it, it will help us what? To avoid what a lot of Muslims have fallen into, a shirk. You'll see people wearing that talisman with the eye on it. Or you go in somebody's home and they have this hand of what they call hand of Fatima. Some of them say the hand of Hamza. You see that? And you ask them, why is that hanging there? And it's not for decor. They actually believe this keeps the house safe. Y'all see that? And with that, brothers and sisters, we bring...
Hamza didn't stop him from...
Huh?
The hands of Hamza didn't stop him from...
Exactly. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, but this qaida is so important for us to learn and to master and to share with other people as best we can. And with that, brothers, we'll bring tonight's remarks to a close. Thank you all for coming. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as always make us from those who listen to the talk and follow the best of it. Wa jazakumullahu khairan.